Clara pressed her bleeding hand over her daughter's mouth and pulled both children into the snowdrift. Her son's eyes went wide. She shook her head once. Don't breathe, don't move, don't exist. 20 feet away, 3 riders circled the burning wagon. "She's here somewhere," one of them called out. "Ashford wants her alive. The brats he don't care about." A gunshot cracked the frozen air. Rosie whimpered against Clara's palm. And somewhere in that howling Wyoming darkness, Clara Whitmore made a choice no mother should ever have to make. Subscribe to our channel and follow Clara's story to the very end. Comment below with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The bullet had taken a piece of Henry's ear. Clara didn't know this yet. She only knew her son was bleeding. Her daughter was silent, and the men who'd been hunting them for 6 weeks had finally caught up. "Henry." She kept her voice below the wind. "Henry, look at me." He turned. 9 years old, blood running down his neck, freezing in the November air. But his eyes were steady, his father's eyes. "I'm okay, Mama. You're bleeding." "I know." He pressed his sleeve against his ear. "It don't hurt much." It was a lie. Clara knew it was a lie. But she let him have it, because right now in this frozen hell, lies were all they had. "Rosie." Clara pulled her daughter closer. "Baby, I need you to be quiet. Can you do that for Mama?" Rosie nodded. She hadn't spoken in 3 days. Not since the men caught up with them in Cheyenne. Not since she'd watched them drag Clara out of the boarding house by her hair. 5 years old, and she'd already learned that the world was cruel. "Where'd she go?" Tucker's voice carried through the storm. "Fan out. She ain't getting far in this." Clara pressed deeper into the snowdrift. The cold was past pain now, past feeling. Her fingers had stopped working an hour ago. Her feet were just memories attached to her legs. But she could still hold her children. She could still shield them with her body. That had to be enough. "Mama!" Henry's whisper was barely audible. "We can't stay here." "I know. If we don't move, we'll freeze." "I know, baby." "So what do we do?" Clara closed her eyes. 6 weeks ago, she'd had a husband, a cabin, a life. Ezra had kissed her goodbye that morning, same as always. Told her he'd be home before dark. Told her to save him some of that venison stew. He never came home. They told her it was a cave-in. Told her 12 men died in the Ashford mine that day. Told her Ezra had been in the deepest shaft, never had a chance. Then they told her about the debt. Equipment fees, they called it. Said Ezra had borrowed against his wages for months. Said he owed the company $400. Said the debt passed to her now. Clara had laughed. Actually laughed in their faces. Ezra had never borrowed a cent in his life. He was Irish stubborn about money, same as her father. They'd argued about it more than once, his refusal to take help even when they needed it. But Cornelius Ashford didn't care about truth. He cared about what he wanted. And what he wanted was Clara. Mrs. Whitmore. He'd come to her cabin a week after Ezra's funeral. Silver hair perfectly combed. Soft hands that had never worked a day. Eyes like January ice. "I'm so sorry for your loss." "Thank you. I want you to know that I hold no ill will regarding your husband's debt." Clara had stared at him. "My husband had no debt." "The company records say otherwise." "Then your records are wrong." Ashford had smiled, the smile of a man who'd never been told no. "Perhaps we could discuss this further, over dinner." "I don't think that's appropriate, Mr. Ashford." "I'm trying to help you, Mrs. Whitmore. You have 2 children, no income. Winter is coming." He'd stepped close enough that she could smell his cologne. "I could make all your troubles disappear." "How? Marry me." The word hit her like a slap. "Excuse me." "Marry me. I'll forgive the debt. You and your children will want for nothing. I'll provide for you in ways your husband never could." Clara's hand had moved before her mind caught up. The slap echoed through the cabin. Ashford's head snapped to the side. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Ashford straightened, touched his reddening cheek, and smiled again. "I see," he said quietly. "You need time to consider." "I don't need time. The answer is no. Mrs. Whitmore, get out of my home." He'd left. Clara had thought that was the end of it. She'd been wrong. The next morning she woke to flames. "Over here." Tucker's shout yanked Clara back to the present. "I see tracks." Her heart seized. She grabbed Henry's arm, grabbed Rosie and ran. The snow was thigh-deep. Every step was agony. Rosie was a dead weight in her arms, and Henry was struggling to keep up his breath, coming in harsh gasps. "Mama, I can't." "You can." Clara didn't slow down. "You have to." Behind them, hoofbeats, getting closer. There she is. A gunshot. Snow exploded 2 feet to Clara's left. She kept running. There was nothing else to do. No weapon, no horse, no help coming. Just the snow and the dark, and the men who wanted to drag her back to Cornelius Ashford. "Mama?" Henry grabbed her arm, pulling her sideways. "This way." She didn't question him. She just followed. Through a gap in the rocks she hadn't seen, into a narrow passage that blocked the wind. They stumbled out the other side and found themselves in a small hollow. Protected, hidden. Clara collapsed against the rock wall Rosie still clutched to her chest. "How did you—" "I saw it." Henry was panting, his face ghost white. "From before, when we were running." 9 years old, finding escape routes while fleeing for his life. This wasn't the childhood she'd wanted for him. "Good boy." Clara pulled him close. "That's my good, brave boy." They huddled together in the darkness. The wind howled overhead, but it couldn't reach them here. Small mercy. Rosie finally stirred. "Mama, I'm here, baby. I'm cold. I know. Is Papa coming to get us?" Clara's throat closed. Rosie asked this every day. Every single day. "Papa's watching over us," Clara whispered. "Remember, he sent us to find somewhere safe." Did we find it? Clara looked around at the frozen rocks, the howling storm, the darkness pressing in from all sides. "Not yet, baby. But we will." They waited. Clara counted heartbeats, counted breaths, counted the seconds ticking by, each one a small victory. The hoofbeats passed overhead, voices muffled by wind and snow. "Lost her." "Ashford ain't gonna like this." "Ashford can go hang himself. I ain't freezing to death for some woman." "You tell him that. I'll watch from a distance." The voices faded. The hoofbeats disappeared into the storm. Clara waited another 100 heartbeats before she let herself breathe. "They're gone," Henry whispered. "For now." "What do we do?" Clara looked at her children. Really looked at them. Henry's ear was still bleeding, the blood frozen to his neck. His coat was too thin, his boots were soaked through, and his lips were turning blue. Rosie wasn't shivering anymore. That was worse. Much worse. Clara had grown up in Boston. She knew what happened when a body stopped shivering. "We have to find shelter," she said. "Real shelter." Where? She didn't know. They were somewhere in Wyoming territory, miles from any town she knew. The wagon was gone, burned. The horse was gone, shot. Everything they owned was gone. All that was left was the 3 of them and the killing cold. "There has to be something," Clara said. "A cabin, a barn, something." She struggled to her feet, pulling Rosie up with her. Her daughter hung limp in her arms, eyes half closed. "Rosie, Rosie, stay awake." "Tired, Mama." "I know, baby, but you have to stay awake. Can you do that for me?" "I'll try." They stumbled out of the hollow and into the storm. The wind hit them like a fist, but Clara kept moving. 1 foot in front of the other. 1 step at a time. She had no idea which direction she was going. North, south, it didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was finding shelter before her children froze to death in her arms. Henry walked beside her, one hand gripping her coat. He didn't complain, didn't cry, just kept moving. He was so much like his father, it made her heart crack. They walked for what felt like hours, days, lifetimes. Then Henry stopped. "Mama, look." Clara squinted through the snow. At first, she couldn't see anything. Just white on white on white. Then a shape. Dark against the storm. A building. A barn maybe, or a shed. Something. "Thank God." The words came out as a sob. "Thank God! Come on!" They half ran, half crawled toward it. The building grew larger as they approached. It was a barn, old but solid, with walls that blocked the wind. Clara found the door and pulled it open. Inside was dark. Cold. But not as cold as outside. Not as deadly. "In." Quickly. She ushered the children inside and pulled the door shut behind them. The wind stopped screaming. The world went quiet. Clara sank to her knees, still holding Rosie, and started to cry. She couldn't help it. The relief was too big, too overwhelming. For 6 weeks she'd been running. 6 weeks of terror and exhaustion, and watching her children suffer. And now finally they had walls around them. Something between them and the storm. "Mama." Henry's hand found her shoulder. "Mama, it's okay." "I know, baby." She wiped her face. "I know. Just give Mama a minute." He sat down beside her, pressing close. Rosie curled against her chest, her breathing shallow but steady. They were alive. That was something. That was everything. Clara looked around the barn, letting her eyes adjust. Stalls lined one wall, empty now. Hay bales were stacked in the corner, old and dusty. A ladder led up to a loft. It wasn't warm, but it was dry. It was shelter. "Henry," Clara's voice steadied. "Help me gather some hay. We'll make a bed." They worked together, pulling hay from the bales and piling it in the corner. When they had enough, Clara lay Rosie down and covered her with as much hay as she could. "Is she going to be okay?" Henry asked. "She's going to be fine." Another lie. Clara was getting good at those. "We just need to keep her warm." "How?" "There's no fire." "Body heat. Come here." They curled up on either side of Rosie, pressing close. It wasn't enough. Clara knew it wasn't enough. But it was all they had. "Try to sleep," Clara said. "What about you?" "I'll keep watch." "Mama." "Sleep, Henry. I've got you." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I miss Papa." Clara's heart shattered. Again. "I know, baby. I miss him too. I keep thinking he's going to come find us, like he's just been gone on a long trip or something." "I know." "Is that stupid?" Clara pulled him closer. "No, baby. That's not stupid at all." Silence fell. Rosie's breathing evened out. Henry's body relaxed against her side. Clara lay in the darkness, listening to the storm rage outside, thinking about Ezra. He would have known what to do. He always knew what to do. When the mine was struggling, he'd found extra work. When Henry got sick last winter, he'd ridden 50 miles through a blizzard to find medicine. But Ezra was gone. And Clara was alone. No, not alone. She had her children. And as long as she had them, she had a reason to keep fighting. She must have dozed because the next thing she knew, footsteps were crunching outside. Clara's eyes flew open. The barn door rattled. She grabbed Henry's arm. "Wake up, quietly." He stirred. "What?" "Shh, someone's here." They scrambled behind the hay bales, Clara carrying Rosie, who was still barely conscious. The door swung open. A figure stood silhouetted against the gray dawn light. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a rifle in his hands. Clara stopped breathing. The man stepped inside, His eyes swept the barn, passing over the pile of hay, the disturbed dust, the footprints in the dirt. He knew someone was there. "I know you're hiding." His voice was low, rough. "I ain't here to hurt you. This is my land. I just want to know who's in my barn." Clara didn't move, didn't speak. "Look." The man lowered his rifle slightly. "I can see the tracks outside. I know you came in through that storm. Nobody does that unless they're running from something." He paused. "Or someone." Rosie whimpered. Clara's heart stopped. The man's head turned toward them. "There's a child in here." His voice changed, softer now. "I can hear her." Clara pressed her hand over Rosie's mouth. "Too late. I ain't going to hurt a child." The man set his rifle against the wall. "You hear me? Whatever trouble you're in, I ain't part of it." Henry looked at Clara. His eyes were asking a question. She didn't know the answer. The man took another step forward. Now Clara could see his face, weathered, lined with gray eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. A scar ran from his left temple down to his jaw. His clothes were practical, worn, a rancher's clothes. "My name's Silas Brennan," he said. "I own this land. The house is about a quarter-mile that way." He nodded toward the door. "Got a fire going. Hot coffee. If you're as cold as you look, you're going to die in here." Clara's arms tightened around Rosie. "I know you're scared," Silas continued. "I know you don't trust me, but I'm telling you the truth. Whatever's chasing you, it ain't me." Rosie stirred. "Mama, I'm cold." Clara made a decision. She stood up from behind the hay bales. Silas's eyes widened when he saw her. The ragged clothes, the frozen blood on her hand, the two children clutching at her coat. "Please," Clara's voice cracked. "Please, my daughter. She stopped shivering hours ago. I don't know." Silas moved, fast. He crossed the barn in 3 strides and reached for Rosie. Clara flinched back. "I need to see her," he said. "I've seen frostbite before. Let me see." Something in his voice, something calm and certain, made Clara let go. Silas took Rosie into his arms. He pressed his fingers to her cheek, her neck, her hands. How long since she stopped shivering? "I don't know, 3 hours, maybe 4. "Jesus." He looked at Clara. "She's hypothermic. We need to warm her up, now." "Is she going to?" "Not if we move. Come on." He strode toward the door, Rosie cradled against his chest. Clara grabbed Henry's hand and followed. The walk to the house was brutal. The storm had eased, but the cold was still savage. Clara couldn't feel her feet anymore. Couldn't feel much of anything. But she could see the house growing larger with every step. Smoke rising from the chimney. Light glowing in the windows. Life. Warmth. Hope. Silas kicked open the door and carried Rosie inside. Heat hit Clara like a wave. Real heat from a real fire. She staggered, almost fell. Henry caught her arm. "Mama." "I'm fine." She wasn't fine. She was close to collapse. "Go inside. Go get warm." Silas was already stripping off Rosie's frozen clothes. He worked quickly, efficiently, wrapping her in blankets from a chest in the corner. "There's a kettle on the stove," he said without looking up. "Make hot water, not boiling, lukewarm, and find more blankets. The chest by the window." Clara moved. Her frozen fingers fumbled with the kettle, but she managed. Henry found the blankets and brought them over. Silas took the warm water and pressed it to Rosie's lips. "Come on, little one, drink." Rosie's eyes fluttered open. "Mama?" "I'm here, baby." Clara knelt beside her. "I'm right here." "I'm cold." "I know, but you're going to be warm soon. This man is helping us." Rosie looked at Silas. Her eyes, unfocused and glassy, studied his scarred face. "You're scary looking," she said. Silas's lips twitched. "So I've been told." "But your eyes are nice." Something shifted in his expression, something sad and soft. "Drink your water, little one." He worked on her for an hour, warming her slowly, carefully checking her fingers and toes for frostbite. Clara watched every movement, her heart in her throat. Finally, Silas sat back. "She's going to be okay," he said. "Her color's coming back. She's going to lose the tip of one toe maybe, but she'll keep her feet." Clara's knees buckled. Henry caught her. "Thank you." The words came out as a whisper. "Thank you." Silas just nodded. He looked at her, really looked, taking in the blood, the exhaustion, the fear that still lived in her eyes. "Who's after you?" he asked quietly. Clara's throat closed. "Because whoever they are," Silas continued, "they're not going to stop. Not if they followed you through that storm." "How do you—" "I saw the tracks outside. 3 horses circling, searching. They were here earlier. They'll be back." Clara felt the blood drain from her face. Silas stood up. He moved to the window and looked out at the gray morning. "I spent 4 years in the war," he said. "I've seen men hunt other men before. I know what it looks like." He turned back to her. "So I'll ask again. Who's after you?" Clara looked at her children. Henry was sitting on the floor, his hands wrapped around a cup of hot coffee, his eyes fixed on Silas. Rosie was sleeping now, her color slowly returning, her breathing even. They were alive. Because of this stranger. She owed him the truth. "His name is Cornelius Ashford," she said. "He owns the mining company in Leadville. He killed my husband, and now he wants to own me." Silas's jaw tightened. "Own you? He wants me to marry him. When I said no, he burned our home. We've been running ever since." Silence filled the cabin. Then Silas said, "How long?" "6 weeks." "Where were you headed?" "Anywhere. Nowhere." Clara's voice broke. "I don't know anymore. I just wanted to get my children somewhere safe." Silas was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the fire, at the sleeping child, at the boy who was watching him with 2 old eyes. Then he looked at Clara. "You found it," he said simply. "What?" "Somewhere safe." He met her eyes. "You found it." Clara stared at him. This stranger, this scarred, quiet man who'd carried her daughter through the cold and asked for nothing in return. "Why?" The word tore out of her. "Why would you help us? You don't know us. You don't owe us anything." Silas was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. "I had a wife once," he said, "and a daughter. Lost them both. Fever took them 4 years ago." He paused. "After that, I stopped caring about much of anything. Just worked this land and waited for something to give me a reason to keep going." He looked at Rosie sleeping peacefully by the fire. "Reckon I just found one." Clara felt tears sliding down her cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. "Those men will come back," she said. "Ashford won't stop. He never stops." "Then we'll be ready." "You don't understand. He has money, men, power." Silas reached down and picked up his rifle. His hands were steady. His eyes were calm. "I've got this land," he said, "and this rifle, and I've faced worse odds. This isn't your fight." "It is now." He looked at her, and something passed between them. Something Clara couldn't name. "Get some rest, Mrs. Whitmore. Clara Whitmore. Get some rest, Mrs. Whitmore. You're safe here." He moved toward the door. "I'm going to keep watch. Make sure our friends don't come back too soon. You should sleep too." "I'll sleep when they're gone." He opened the door, then paused. "There's stew on the stove. Help yourself. Help your boy. You both look like you haven't eaten in days." He stepped out into the cold, closing the door behind him. Clara sat in the silence, listening to the fire crackle, watching her children breathe. Henry looked up from his coffee. "Mama, is he going to help us?" "I think so, baby." "Can we trust him?" Clara thought about the way Silas had held Rosie, the way his voice had softened when he talked about his daughter, the way he'd walked into the cold without complaint to keep watch over strangers. "Yes," she said. "I think we can." Henry nodded slowly. Then for the first time in weeks, he smiled. "I like him," he said. He's got sad eyes, but kind ones. Clara pulled her son close and held him tight. Outside, the wind howled and the snow fell, and somewhere in the distance, 3 men were planning their next move. But inside, there was warmth. There was safety. And for the first time since Ezra died, Clara felt something she'd forgotten existed. Hope. Clara woke to the smell of bacon. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The ceiling was wrong. The bed was wrong. Everything was wrong. Then memory crashed back. The storm. The barn. The man with sad eyes. She sat up too fast. Her head spun. Easy. Silas's voice came from across the room. You've been out for 12 hours. 12 hours. Clara couldn't remember the last time she'd slept more than 2. My children. They're fine. The boy's helping me feed the horses. The little one's still sleeping, but her color's good. She woke up twice asking for you. Clara's chest loosened. She swung her legs off the bed, his bed, she realized, and tried to stand. Her knees buckled. Silas was there before she hit the floor. His hands caught her arms steady and strong. When's the last time you ate? I don't remember. That's what I figured. He guided her to the table and pushed her into a chair. A plate appeared in front of her. Bacon, eggs, bread. More food than she'd seen in weeks. Eat, he said. Don't argue. She didn't argue. She ate. The food hit her empty stomach like a fist, but she forced herself to slow down. Silas watched her from across the table, his coffee cup untouched. Those men, he said finally. They came back last night. Clara's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Didn't come close. Just circled the property, watching. They're still out there. No, left before dawn. But they'll be back. Clara set down her fork. Her appetite was gone. I should leave, she said. Take the children and go. I've already put you in enough danger. Where would you go? I don't know. Somewhere. Anywhere. You'd be dead in 2 days. Silas's voice was flat. Maybe less. You're exhausted. Your children are half frozen. And those men know this territory better than you do. So what do you suggest? Stay. The word hung in the air. Stay here. Silas continued. Rest. Recover. Let me deal with those men. You can't deal with them. There are 3 of them, and Ashford has more. He always has more. I've faced worse odds. This isn't a war. Yes, it is. Silas leaned forward. It's just a smaller one. The door burst open. Clara jumped. Her hand went to her chest. Henry stood in the doorway, his face flushed from the cold. Behind him, the morning light was blinding. Mama, you're awake. He ran to her and threw his arms around her neck. Clara held him tight, breathing in the smell of hay and horses and her son. I'm awake, baby. I'm okay. Mr. Silas let me brush the horses. He has 3. One's named Thunder, and one's named Bell, and one's named... Slow down. Clara laughed. Actually laughed. Breathe. Henry pulled back, grinning. It was the first real smile she'd seen on his face in weeks. He says I can help with the cattle later. Can I, Mama? Can I? Clara looked at Silas over Henry's head. He was watching the boy with an expression she couldn't read. We'll see, she said. That means yes, right? Henry bounced on his toes. That's what Papa always said when he meant yes. The mention of Ezra hit Clara like a blow. She forced herself to smile. Go wash up for breakfast. But I already ate. Mr. Silas made pancakes. Then go check on your sister. Henry groaned, but obeyed, disappearing into the back room where Rosie was sleeping. Silence settled over the kitchen. He's a good boy, Silas said quietly. He's had to grow up too fast. War does that to people, even small wars. Clara looked at him, really looked. The scar on his face was old, faded to silver. His hands were rough with calluses. But his eyes were the saddest she'd ever seen. Your daughter, she said. What was her name? Silas was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. Annabelle. She was 4 when she died. I'm sorry. Me too. He stood abruptly, taking his coffee cup to the stove. His back was to her, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. My wife died giving birth to her, he continued. I was at war. Didn't find out for 3 months. By the time I got home, Rebecca had been in the ground for weeks, and Annabelle was being raised by a neighbor. That must have been... It was hell. He turned to face her. I didn't know how to be a father. Didn't know how to do anything except fight. But I learned. For her, I learned. And then you lost her too. Diphtheria. Took her in 2 days. His jaw tightened. I held her hand at the end, watched her slip away. Couldn't do a damn thing to stop it. Clara's throat closed. She knew that helplessness. She'd felt it when they told her about Ezra. After that, Silas said, I stopped caring about much of anything. Built this ranch because I needed something to do with my hands. But I wasn't really living, just existing. What changed? He looked at her. You walked into my barn. The words hit Clara like a physical force. She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. I ain't asking for anything, Silas said quickly. I know you just lost your husband. I know you're running for your life. I ain't trying to make this complicated. Then what are you trying to do? Give you a place to stand. He met her eyes. That's all. Just a place to stand while you figure out what comes next. Clara felt tears burning. She blinked them back. Why? Because nobody gave me one. His voice cracked just slightly. When I needed it most, nobody stepped in. Nobody helped. I swore to myself that if I ever got the chance to be that person for someone else, I wouldn't hesitate. Mama! Rosie's small voice came from the doorway. Clara turned. Her daughter was standing there, wrapped in a blanket that was far too big for her, her blonde hair tangled and wild. Hey, baby. Clara held out her arms. Come here. Rosie padded across the room and climbed into her lap. She was warm now, her cheeks pink instead of blue. I dreamed about Papa, Rosie said. Clara's heart clenched. You did? He said not to be scared. He said the scary man with the nice eyes would keep us safe. Clara looked at Silas. He was staring at Rosie with an expression of raw pain. The scary man? Clara asked. Him. Rosie pointed at Silas. Papa said he lost his little girl, so he needs us to help him not be sad anymore. The kitchen went silent. Silas set down his coffee cup with a clatter. He walked to the door without a word. Mr. Silas, Rosie called after him. Did I say something wrong? He stopped with his hand on the latch. His back was still to them. No, little one, he said, his voice rough. You didn't say anything wrong. He stepped outside and closed the door behind him. Rosie looked up at Clara. Why is he crying? Because sometimes, baby, when people have been sad for a very long time, kindness hurts more than cruelty. That doesn't make sense. No, Clara agreed. It doesn't. She held her daughter close and watched the door, wondering about the man on the other side. An hour later, Clara found Silas in the barn. He was brushing one of the horses, his movements automatic and repetitive. He didn't look up when she entered. I'm sorry, Clara said. About what Rosie said. She doesn't understand. She understands more than you think. Silas's voice was steady, now controlled. Children see things adults miss. She's 5. My Annabelle was 4. He finally looked at her. She used to tell me things too. Things that didn't make sense. Things that turned out to be true. Clara stepped closer. Are you all right? I'm fine. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. They stood in silence. The horse snorted and shifted. I should check the fence line, Silas said. Make sure those men didn't cut it in the night. Let me come with you. No. I'm not asking. He turned to face her fully. You should be resting. I've rested enough, and I'm tired of being helpless. Clara lifted her chin. You said you wanted to give me a place to stand. Fine, but I won't stand around doing nothing while you do all the work. Something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe. Can you ride? My husband taught me. Can you shoot? Well enough. Silas studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded toward the wall, where a second rifle hung. That belonged to my wife. It's been oiled and maintained. Should shoot true. Clara took the rifle. It was lighter than she expected, worn smooth with use. What about the children? Henry's got the shotgun. He knows how to use it. His father taught him. Good. They'll stay inside. Doors locked. Anyone tries to come in who isn't us. He shoots first and asks questions later. Clara's stomach turned. He's 9 years old. And those men won't care. Silas's voice was hard. Better he knows how to defend himself than not. She wanted to argue. Wanted to say that her son shouldn't have to carry that burden. But Silas was right. In this world at this moment, childhood was a luxury they couldn't afford. All right, she said. Let's go. The ride was cold and quiet. Silas led the way on Thunder, his eyes constantly scanning the horizon. Clara followed on Belle, the rifle across her saddle. They checked the north fence first. Intact. Then the east. Intact. They were halfway to the south fence when Silas pulled up short. What is it? Clara asked. Tracks. He dismounted and crouched in the snow. 3 horses. Recent. Clara's heart began to pound. They were here, Silas said. Maybe 2 hours ago. He followed the tracks with his eyes. Headed toward town. Why would they go to town? Supplies. Information. He stood. Or reinforcements. Clara felt the blood drain from her face. Ashford. Maybe. Silas mounted his horse. We need to get back. They rode hard. The cold bit at Clara's face, but she barely felt it. All she could think about was Henry and Rosie alone in the cabin with nothing but a shotgun between them and the men who wanted to drag them back to Colorado. They crested the hill above the ranch. The cabin was there. Smoke rising from the chimney. No horses outside. Clara let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Looks clear, Silas said. But he didn't relax. Stay behind me. They rode down the hill slowly, carefully. Silas's rifle was in his hands. They were 50 yards from the cabin when the door burst open. Henry ran out, his face white with terror. Mama, Mr. Silas, someone was here. Someone tried to get in. Clara was off her horse before it stopped moving. She ran to her son and grabbed his arms. Are you hurt? Is Rosie hurt? We're okay. They tried the door, but I had the shotgun like Mr. Silas said. I yelled that I'd shoot and they went away. Silas dismounted and strode to the cabin. He circled it once, checking the windows, the doors. Fresh tracks, he reported. 2 men. Came from the south. 2. Clara's mind raced. But there were 3. The third one's watching. Silas's eyes scanned the tree line. Probably up on that ridge, keeping an eye on us. So they know we're here. They know where we're staying. They've known since yesterday. Silas met her gaze. This was a test, seeing how we'd respond. And now they know there's a child with a shotgun and 2 adults who ride the fence line. His jaw tightened. Next time they come, they'll come prepared. Clara pulled Henry close. What do we do? We prepare too. That night Silas didn't sleep. Clara watched him from the window as he circled the cabin, rifle in hand, eyes on the darkness. Mama. Henry's voice came from the bed he was sharing with Rosie. Why doesn't Mr. Silas come inside? He's keeping watch. All night. All night. Henry was quiet for a moment. Then, Papa used to do that. When we heard wolves near the cabin, he'd sit outside with his rifle until dawn. Clara's throat tightened. I remember. I miss him. I know, baby. I miss him too. But, Henry hesitated. Is it wrong that I like Mr. Silas? That I'm glad he's here? Clara turned from the window. Her son's face was troubled, guilty almost. No, baby, she said softly. That's not wrong. Your papa would want you to have people who care about you, who protect you. You think so. I know so. Henry relaxed slightly. Mr. Silas showed me how to saddle a horse today, the right way. He said I was a natural. That's wonderful. And he said... Henry hesitated again. He said I remind him of someone he used to know. He got sad when he said it, but it was a good kind of sad. Does that make sense? Clara thought about Silas's face when he looked at her children. The pain and the hope warring in his eyes. Yes, she said. It makes perfect sense. Rosie stirred beside Henry. Mama. Go back to sleep, baby. I can't. I keep dreaming about the bad men. Clara crossed the room and sat on the edge of the bed. She stroked Rosie's hair. The bad men aren't going to get you, she said. Mr. Silas won't let them. Promise? I promise. Cross your heart. Clara drew an X over her chest. Cross my heart. Rosie's eyes drifted closed. Within minutes, her breathing evened out. Henry watched his sister sleep. She really likes him, Mama. I know. So do I. He looked up at her. Is that okay? To like someone new? Clara felt tears burning. Yes, baby. That's more than okay. She kissed both children and returned to the window. Silas was still out there, a shadow against the moonlit snow. She pulled on her coat and slipped outside. He heard her coming. Of course he did. You should be sleeping, he said without turning. So should you. I'll sleep when this is over. Clara moved to stand beside him. The cold was brutal, but she barely felt it. They're planning something, Silas said. I can feel it. What do we do? Wait, watch, be ready. That's not much of a plan. It's the only one we've got. Silence stretched between them. Clara watched her breath frost in the air. Silas. Yeah. Thank you. He finally looked at her. For what? For everything. For taking us in. For protecting us. For giving my children something to believe in again. I haven't done anything yet. You've done more than you know. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, something Clara couldn't name. Something that scared her as much as it comforted her. You should go inside. Silas said, his voice rougher than before. Get some sleep. So should you. I told you. You told me you'd sleep when this is over. Clara turned to face him fully. But what if it's not over for a long time? What if Ashford sends more men? What if this goes on for weeks, months? You can't stay awake forever. I can try. You'll die trying. Then at least I'll die for something that matters. The words hit Clara like a blow. She stared at him, at this broken man who'd given her everything and asked for nothing. You matter, she said softly. Not just what you can do for us. You matter. Silas's jaw tightened. He looked away. You don't know me. I know enough. You know a man who lost everything and stopped caring whether he lived or died. His voice was bitter. That's not someone who matters. That's someone who's hurting. Clara reached out and touched his arm. He flinched but didn't pull away. And hurting doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. Silas was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Care about people again. Let people care about me. He finally looked at her. It's been so long. I forgot what it felt like. It feels terrifying, Clara said. And wonderful. And painful. All at the same time. You speak from experience. My husband's been dead for 2 months. Her voice caught. And every day I wake up expecting him to be there. Every night I reach for him in my sleep. The grief doesn't go away. It just changes. Changes how? It becomes part of you. Like a scar. It hurts less over time, but it never disappears. Silas touched the scar on his face almost unconsciously. I have a lot of scars, he said. So do I. Clara let go of his arm. They don't make us weak. They prove we survived. Something shifted in his expression. The walls he'd built around himself cracked just slightly. Go inside, he said again, but this time his voice was gentle. I'll keep watch for a few more hours. Then I'll sleep. Promise? Promise. Clara nodded. She turned to go, then stopped. Silas. Yeah. Whatever happens next, I'm glad we found you. She went inside before he could respond. But she heard him just barely as the door closed behind her. I'm glad you found me too. Dawn came cold and gray. Clara woke to the sound of hoofbeats. She was on her feet before her eyes were fully open. Henry and Rosie were still sleeping. The fire had burned low. Outside voices. Clara grabbed the rifle and moved to the window. Silas was standing in the yard, his rifle raised. 3 men on horseback faced him. Tucker. She recognized him from Cheyenne. The man who'd dragged her out by her hair. Morning, friend. Tucker called out. We're looking for a woman. Widow with 2 kids. You seen her? Can't say I have. That's funny, because we tracked her right to your door. Silas didn't respond. Tucker's horse shifted. Here's how this is going to go. You give us the woman, we ride away, everybody's happy. You don't give us the woman. He drew his pistol. We take her anyway, and you end up in a hole. Clara's hands were shaking. She forced them steady. You're welcome to try, Silas said. His voice was calm, almost bored. But I should warn you, last man who threatened me on my own land is buried out by the south pasture. Tucker laughed. 1 against 3. Those ain't good odds, friend. They're better than you think. Clara made a decision. She opened the door and stepped outside. Clara, Silas's voice was sharp. Get back inside. No! She walked forward until she was standing beside him, the rifle in her hands pointed at Tucker's chest. You want me, she said. Come and get me. Tucker's eyes widened. Then he grinned. Well, well. The widow's got some fight in her. He holstered his pistol. Mr. Ashford's going to like that. Mr. Ashford can go to hell. Now that's not very ladylike. I'm not feeling very ladylike. Tucker studied her for a long moment. Then he looked at Silas. You know who she belongs to, rancher. You know who you're protecting. She don't belong to anyone. That's where you're wrong. Cornelius Ashford owns half of Colorado, and what he wants, he gets. Not this time. Tucker's grin faded. You're making a mistake. Wouldn't be my first. The 2 men locked eyes. The air crackled with tension. Finally, Tucker pulled his horse around. We'll be back, he said. And next time we won't be asking nicely. The 3 riders disappeared over the hill. Clara let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. That was stupid, Silas said. That was necessary. You could have been killed. So could you. He turned to face her. His expression was unreadable. Don't ever do that again. I'll do what I have to do to protect my family. Your family? Yes. Clara lifted her chin. You're part of that now, whether you like it or not. Silas stared at her. Something moved behind his eyes. something fierce and frightened and hopeful all at once. You barely know me. I know you stood between my children and danger. That's enough. He was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. All right, he said. All right. All right what? All right, we're family. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Strangest family I ever had. You haven't seen anything yet. Clara turned and walked back toward the cabin. Behind her she heard Silas laugh. It was a rusty sound, like he'd forgotten how. But it was real. 3 days passed without a sign of Tucker or his men. Clara knew better than to believe they were gone. They're waiting, Silas said over breakfast. Watching, figuring out our patterns. So we change our patterns. Already have. But there's only so much two people can do. Henry looked up from his plate. I can help. You are helping. I mean really help, like Mama does, riding the fence, keeping watch. No. Clara's voice was sharp. Absolutely not. But Mama, I said no. Henry's jaw tightened. He looked so much like Ezra in that moment that Clara's heart cracked. I'm not a baby, he said. I know how to shoot. I know how to ride. Papa taught me. Your papa also taught you to listen to your mother. My papa is dead. The words hung in the air like smoke. Rosie's fork clattered against her plate. Henry. It's true. Henry's voice cracked. He's dead, and he's not coming back, and pretending like everything's normal isn't going to change that. Clara reached for him. Henry. He pushed back from the table and stormed outside. The door slammed behind him. Rosie's lip trembled. Is Henry mad at us? No, baby. He's hurting. I hurt too, but I don't yell. Clara pulled her daughter close. Everyone hurts differently. Henry keeps his inside until it gets too big. Then it comes out all at once. Silas stood. I'll talk to him. You don't have to. I want to. He was out the door before Clara could argue. She found herself at the window watching as Silas approached her son. Henry was standing by the fence, his back rigid, his shoulders shaking. Silas stopped a few feet away. He didn't touch the boy, didn't crowd him. Clara couldn't hear what he said, but she saw Henry's shoulders slowly relax, saw him turn to face Silas, saw his mouth move in response. Then Silas did something that made Clara's breath catch. He knelt down, putting himself at Henry's level, and opened his arms. Henry hesitated, just for a second. Then he threw himself into Silas's embrace and sobbed. Clara's eyes burned. She turned away from the window, unable to watch anymore. Rosie tugged at her skirt. Mama, why are you crying? I'm not crying. You are too, I can see. Clara wiped her face. Sometimes grown-ups cry when they see something beautiful. What did you see? Healing, Clara said softly. I saw healing. When Silas and Henry came back inside, something had shifted between them. Henry's eyes were red but calm. He walked straight to Clara and wrapped his arms around her. I'm sorry, Mama. I didn't mean what I said. Yes, you did. And that's okay. It's not okay to yell. No, but it's okay to be angry. Clara held him tight. Your papa would understand. Henry pulled back and looked at Silas. Mr. Silas says anger is like fire. If you let it out in small amounts, it keeps you warm. If you hold it in too long, it burns everything down. Clara met Silas's eyes over her son's head. That's wise. That's experience. Silas's voice was rough. I held on to my anger for 4 years. Nearly burned myself to ash. What changed? I found something worth more than the anger. He looked at the three of them, Clara, Henry, Rosie, and something soft crossed his face. Someone worth more. Rosie bounced off her chair. Is it us? Are we the someone? Silas crouched down to her level. Yeah, little one, it's you. She threw her arms around his neck. I knew it. I told Henry you were nice. He didn't believe me at first, but I was right. You're always right, Henry muttered. I know. Despite everything, Clara laughed. It felt strange laughing, like wearing clothes that didn't quite fit anymore. But it also felt good. That afternoon, Silas taught Henry to track. Clara watched from the porch as they crouched in the snow studying marks she couldn't see. See here, Silas pointed. The depth tells you how heavy the animal was. The spacing tells you how fast it was moving. What about people? Same principles. But people are trickier. They try to hide their tracks. How do you know if someone's hiding theirs? Because the absence of tracks is a track too. Silas straightened. If you're walking through snow and suddenly there's a patch with nothing, someone swept it clean. That tells you more than footprints would. Henry nodded seriously. Papa never taught me that. Your papa was a miner, not a tracker. Different skills. What were you before you were a rancher? Silas was quiet for a moment. A soldier. In the war. Yeah. Did you kill people? Henry. Clara's voice carried across the yard. That's not a polite question. It's all right. Silas met her eyes, then looked back at Henry. Yes, I killed people. Did it feel bad? Sometimes. Sometimes it felt like survival. Sometimes it felt like nothing at all. He put his hand on Henry's shoulder. War changes you, makes you do things you never thought you'd do. The trick is not letting it change who you are underneath. Did it change you? Silas's jaw tightened. Yeah, but I'm still finding the man I was before. I think you're finding him, Henry said quietly. Mama says hurt people can still be good people. She says the scars just prove we survived. Silas looked toward the porch. Clara felt his gaze like a touch. Your mama's a smart woman, he said. I know. Papa always said she was smarter than him. He was right. They went back to tracking, but something had changed. The wall between Silas and Henry had crumbled brick by brick. Clara turned to go inside and found Rosie standing behind her. Mama. Yes, baby. Is Mr. Silas going to be our new papa? Clara's heart stuttered. What makes you ask that? Because you look at him the way you used to look at Papa. And he looks at you the way Papa looked at you. Rosie tilted her head. It's different, but it's the same. Does that make sense? More sense than you know. So is he? Clara knelt down. It's complicated, sweetheart. Why? Because your papa just died, and we're in danger. And Mr. Silas has his own hurts to heal. But he makes you smile. He makes Henry laugh. He makes me feel safe. Rosie's face was earnest. Isn't that what papas are supposed to do? Clara pulled her daughter close and held her tight. Yes, baby. That's exactly what papas are supposed to do. That night after the children were asleep, Clara found Silas on the porch. He was sitting in the old rocking chair, rifle across his lap, watching the darkness. She sat down beside him without asking permission. Rosie asked if you were going to be her new papa. Silas went still. What did you tell her? That it's complicated. That's one word for it. Silence stretched between them. The wind whispered through the trees. Clara, Silas's voice was rough. I need you to know something. What? I'm not the man I was before the war, before Rebecca, before Annabelle. He stared straight ahead. I'm broken in ways that might not ever heal. I'm broken too. Not like me. You don't know that. I know that I wake up screaming some nights. I know that loud noises make me reach for a gun that isn't there. I know that I've forgotten how to talk to people, how to trust people, how to let people in. He finally looked at her. I know that I'm the worst possible choice for a woman who's already been through hell. And yet you're the only one who stood between my children and danger. That's different. How? That's protection. That's instinct. That's... He stopped, struggled for words. That's easy. And this? Clara gestured between them. This is hard. This is terrifying. Clara reached out and took his hand. He flinched, but didn't pull away. Silas, look at me. He did. His eyes were raw. I didn't come looking for love, Clara said. I came looking for safety, for somewhere to hide until the danger passed. I never expected to find you. Clara, let me finish. She squeezed his hand. I don't know what this is. I don't know what it could be, but I know how I feel when I'm near you. I feel safe. I feel seen. I feel like maybe, just maybe, I'm not as broken as I thought. You're not broken at all. Neither are you. She leaned closer. We're just healing, both of us. And maybe we can heal together. Silas's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying that whatever this is, I don't want to run from it. I'm tired of running. He was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly, his fingers intertwined with hers. I don't know how to do this, he said. Neither do I. I'll probably mess it up. Probably. I'll say the wrong things, do the wrong things, push you away when I should pull you close. I'll do the same. He laughed. It was a broken sound, but real. We're quite a pair, aren't we? The worst possible match. Complete disaster. Absolutely doomed. They looked at each other, and then somehow they were both laughing. It wasn't happy laughter. It was the laughter of two people who'd been drowning and finally found something to hold on to. When the laughter faded, Silas lifted her hand to his lips and kissed it gently. Whatever happens, he said, I'm glad you found my barn. Me too. They sat together in the darkness, hands intertwined, watching the stars wheel overhead. For the first time in months, Clara wasn't afraid of tomorrow. The attack came at dawn. Clara woke to gunfire. She was on her feet before her eyes were open, rifle in hand, heart pounding. Stay with your sister. She grabbed Henry's shoulder. Don't leave this room. But Mama, promise me. I promise. She ran outside. Silas was already in the yard, crouched behind the water trough, firing at shadows in the tree line. Clara dropped beside him. How many? 4, maybe 5. They came in quiet. A bullet splintered the wood above their heads. Tucker, Clara asked. Haven't seen him yet. Might be hanging back. More gunfire. Clara raised her rifle and fired at a muzzle flash in the trees. You hit anything? I don't know. Probably not. Keep shooting anyway. Make them think twice. They fought for what felt like hours. The sun crept higher, and the gunfire continued, then slowed, then stopped. Silence fell. They're falling back, Silas said. Why? Could be a trick. Could be they're out of ammunition. Could be... Silas. Clara's voice was sharp. Look. A single rider emerged from the tree line. Not Tucker. The man was older, silver-haired, impeccably dressed. He rode a horse that probably cost more than the entire ranch. Clara's blood turned to ice. Ashford. He'd come himself. Cornelius Ashford stopped 50 yards from the house. He looked at the bullet holes in the walls, the shattered windows, the two people crouched behind the water trough. And he smiled. Mrs. Whitmore. His voice carried across the distance. You've led me on quite a chase. Clara didn't respond. I have to admit I admire your spirit. Most women would have given up weeks ago, but not you. You just kept running. He shook his head. It's almost a shame to end it. Then don't. Silas stood rifle trained on Ashford's chest. Turn around. Ride away. Forget you ever heard her name. And you must be the rancher. Silas Brennan isn't it, war veteran. Lost his family. Lives alone. Ashford's smile widened. I do my research, Mr. Brennan. I know everything about you. Then you know I don't miss. Oh, I'm sure you don't. But do you really want to start a war with me? I have men, money, connections. You have... He looked around. A broken-down ranch and a widow with 2 children. I have everything I need. How touching. Ashford turned his attention back to Clara. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm going to make you an offer one last time. Come with me now willingly, and I'll let your children stay here with Mr. Brennan. I'll even provide for them. They'll want for nothing. Clara's stomach turned. And if I refuse? Then I take you anyway. And your children. Well, accidents happen on the frontier. Tragic, really. A fire, a fall, a fever that comes on too quickly. Clara's vision went red. She raised her rifle and fired. The bullet tore through Ashford's hat, missing his head by inches. He didn't flinch, just touched the hole in his hat and laughed. There's that spirit I admire. But you missed Mrs. Whitmore, and now you're out of ammunition. He was right. She'd been shooting all morning. The rifle was empty. Here's what's going to happen, Ashford continued. You're going to put down that rifle. You're going to walk toward me, and we're going to ride away together like civilized people. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. Tucker emerged from the trees behind Ashford. 3 other men flanked him, 5 against 2, and Clara was out of bullets. Silas. Her voice was steady. Take the children. Run. I'm not leaving you. They'll kill you. Then I'll die fighting. Your daughter is dead. His voice cracked. But yours aren't. And I swore I'd protect them. Ashford sighed dramatically. This is very romantic, but I'm getting bored. Tucker, if Mr. Brennan doesn't lower his weapon in the next 10 seconds, shoot him. Tucker raised his rifle. Clara's heart pounded. 9, 8, 7. Wait! Her voice cut through the air. Everyone stopped. I'll come with you, Clara said. On one condition. Ashford raised an eyebrow. You're not in a position to make conditions. One condition. You leave my children here. You never contact them. You never threaten them. They grow up safe and free. Clara, no. Silas grabbed her arm. She shook him off. Do we have a deal, Mr. Ashford? Ashford studied her. Then slowly he nodded. We have a deal. Clara turned to Silas. His face was ashen. Take care of them, she said. Promise me. Clara, I can't let you. Promise me. His jaw tightened. Tears shone in his eyes. I promise. Clara handed him her rifle. Then she started walking toward Ashford. Each step felt like a mile. Each breath felt like her last. She thought about Henry and Rosie still inside, still hiding. She thought about Ezra waiting for her on the other side. She thought about Silas, the broken man who'd given her hope. She was 10 feet from Ashford when the gunshot rang out. Clara spun around. Tucker was on the ground, clutching his shoulder. Blood seeped between his fingers. Standing in the doorway of the cabin was Henry. The shotgun was still smoking in his hands. Get away from my mama. His voice didn't shake. His hands didn't tremble. 9 years old, and he'd shot a man to protect her. You little... Tucker raised his pistol. Silas fired first. Tucker's body hit the ground and didn't move. The other 3 men scattered. Ashford's horse reared. He fought to control it, his face twisted with rage. This isn't over, he screamed. You hear me, this isn't... Another shot. This one from somewhere in the distance. Ashford's arm snapped back. His pistol flew from his hand. He clutched his bleeding arm and looked around wildly. Who? A group of riders crested the hill. 10, 15, 20 men. At their head rode someone Clara didn't recognize, an older man with a silver star on his chest. Cornelius Ashford, the man shouted. You're under arrest for attempted murder, arson, extortion, and a dozen other charges I'll tell you about on the way to jail. Ashford's face went white. You can't. I can, and I am. Marshal Jedediah Crawford, United States Marshal. The man smiled grimly. We've been watching you for months, Mr. Ashford, waiting for you to show your hand. Thank you for making it so easy. Ashford's remaining men were surrounded. They dropped their weapons without a fight. Clara stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. Silas ran to her. Clara, are you hurt? I don't. How? I sent word to the marshal last week. Silas's voice was shaking. Told him everything. About you, about Ashford, about the men hunting you. I didn't know if he'd come. I didn't know if... Clara kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't thought out. It was pure instinct, pure relief, pure joy. When she pulled back, Silas was staring at her. Sorry, Clara whispered. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. He cupped her face in his hands. Don't ever apologize for that. Mama! Henry and Rosie burst out of the cabin and threw themselves at her. She gathered them in her arms, holding them tight, sobbing with relief. It's over, she said. It's over. He can't hurt us anymore. You were going to leave, Henry said. You were going to go with him. I was going to do whatever I had to do to keep you safe. But we're family. His voice cracked. You said we're family, and family stays together. Clara looked at Silas over her son's head. Yes, she said, family stays together. The marshal approached, tipping his hat. Mrs. Whitmore, Mr. Brennan, hell of a morning. Marshal Crawford. Silas extended his hand. I wasn't sure you'd come. Got your letter just in time. We've been building a case against Ashford for years. Just needed him to make a move. He looked at Clara. You're a brave woman, Mrs. Whitmore. Not many people would stand up to a man like that. I didn't have a choice. We always have a choice. You chose to fight. He smiled. That takes courage. Clara looked at her children, at Silas at the ranch that had become their refuge. I had something worth fighting for. The marshal nodded. That you did. We'll need statements from all of you, but it can wait until tomorrow. For now, get some rest. You've earned it. He rode away to deal with Ashford and his men. Clara stood in the yard, her children on either side, Silas at her back. The sun was fully up now, and the sky was impossibly blue. Mama. Rosie tugged at her hand. Is the bad man really going away forever? Clara looked at Ashford, handcuffed and bleeding, being loaded onto a horse. Yes, baby. He's really going away forever. Good. Rosie nodded firmly. He was mean. Despite everything, Clara laughed. It came out broken and wet, but it was real. Silas put his hand on her shoulder. Let's go inside. I'll make coffee. I want pancakes, Rosie announced. Pancakes it is. They walked toward the cabin together, a family imperfect and wounded but whole. Clara paused at the door and looked back at the chaos in the yard. The marshals, the prisoners, the evidence of everything they'd survived. Clara. Silas's voice was soft. You coming? She turned to face him. This man who'd found her in a barn, who'd protected her children, who'd stood between her and death. Yeah, she said. I'm coming home. The weeks after Ashford's arrest passed like a dream Clara was afraid to wake from. Marshal Crawford came by twice to take statements. He told them Ashford would stand trial in Denver. The charges were enough to put him away for 20 years, maybe more. He won't bother you again, Crawford promised. Not from a prison cell. Clara nodded, but part of her still flinched at every sound. Still reached for the rifle when hoofbeats approached. Still woke in the night, heart-pounding, certain that Tucker was at the door. It takes time, Silas said one evening, finding her on the porch. The fear doesn't leave just because the danger does. How long did it take you? After the war. He sat beside her. Years. Sometimes I still feel it. That's not comforting. Wasn't meant to be, just honest. Clara leaned against his shoulder. It had become natural now, this closeness. The way his arm wrapped around her. The way she fit against him. Henry asked me something today, she said. What? He asked if we were going to stay. Silas went still. What did you tell him? I told him I didn't know. Clara pulled back to look at him. What should I have told him? That depends. On what? On whether you want to stay. Clara's heart hammered. They'd danced around this for weeks, stolen moments, careful touches, words that meant more than they said, but neither of them had spoken plainly. Do you want me to stay? Clara asked. More than anything. Then why haven't you asked? Silas's jaw tightened. Because I'm afraid you'll say no. Silas. I know what I am, Clara. A broken-down rancher with nightmares and scars and nothing to offer except a roof and a rifle. You deserve better. I don't want better. I want you. The words hung between them. Silas stared at her. You mean that? I've never meant anything more. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was 4 years of loneliness and 6 weeks of terror and everything they'd been too afraid to say. When they finally broke apart, Clara was trembling. Stay, Silas whispered. You and the children. Stay forever. Is that a proposal? It's a promise. The proposal can wait until I do it properly. Clara laughed. Actually laughed. Properly? What does that look like? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. He pressed his forehead to hers. Give me time to figure it out. I'll give you all the time in the world. They sat together as the stars came out, hands intertwined, hearts full. For the first time since Ezra died, Clara believed in tomorrow. Spring came early that year. The snow melted into streams that sang through the valleys. The land turned green in patches, then in waves. Clara found herself falling in love with Wyoming. The wide open spaces, the endless sky, the way the wind carried the smell of wildflowers and pine. But mostly she fell in love with the life they were building. Henry threw himself into ranch work with a passion that surprised everyone. Silas taught him to ride properly, to rope to track, to read the land like a book. He's got a gift, Silas told Clara one evening. Natural instincts, like he was born to this. His father would be proud. His father is proud. Silas met her eyes. Both of them. Rosie, meanwhile, had appointed herself guardian of every living thing on the ranch. She named the chickens. She talked to the horses. She adopted a barn cat she called Whiskers and carried it everywhere. That cat's going to scratch her, Clara worried. That cat would die for her, Silas replied. Animals know when they're loved. She loves everything. She gets that from her mother. Clara smiled. Flatterer. Truth-teller. The days fell into a rhythm. Work and meals and laughter and love. Clara started tending a garden behind the cabin. Nothing fancy, just vegetables and herbs, but it gave her something to nurture, something to watch grow. Mama, Rosie asked one afternoon watching her plant seeds. Are we home now? Clara looked at the cabin. At Silas mending a fence in the distance. At Henry practicing with a lasso. Yes, baby, we're home. Forever. Forever. Rosie nodded seriously. Good. I like forever. So did Clara. The proposal came on a Tuesday. Clara was washing dishes when Silas walked in with his hands behind his back and a terrified expression on his face. Silas, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. He swallowed hard. I need to ask you something. All right. He stood there frozen. Silas? I had a whole speech prepared. His voice was strained. Practiced it for 3 days. Now I can't remember a single word. Clara set down the dish and dried her hands. Then don't give a speech. Just say what you need to say. I love you. The words came out rough, almost angry. I love your children. I love the way you laugh. I love the way you argue with me when you think I'm wrong. I love that you stood in front of Ashford with an empty rifle because you'd rather die than let him win. He took a shaking breath. I love that you came into my life when I'd given up on everything and made me believe in something again. Silas, I'm not done. He pulled his hands from behind his back. In them was a ring, simple gold worn smooth with age. This was my mother's, he said. She gave it to me before she died. Told me to give it to the woman I wanted to spend my life with. His eyes were bright. I want to spend my life with you, Clara. Whatever's left of it. Good days and bad. Rich or poor. Sickness and health. All of it. Clara's vision blurred with tears. I know I'm not what you planned, Silas continued. I know you had a life before. A husband. A future. I'm not trying to replace any of that. I just want to be part of whatever comes next. Silas. Clara Jane Whitmore. His voice cracked. Will you marry me? She didn't answer with words. She answered with a kiss that said everything. Is that a yes? Silas whispered when they finally broke apart. That's a yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Mama. They spun around. Henry and Rosie were standing in the doorway grinning. We knew it. Rosie bounced on her toes. We knew you were going to ask her. You told them. Clara asked Silas. I asked their permission first. He looked almost shy. Seemed like the right thing to do. Henry stepped forward, his expression serious. I told him that if he ever hurt you, I'd shoot him. Henry? What I would. Silas laughed. I believe you, son, and I'd deserve it. Rosie threw herself at them, wrapping her arms around both their legs. Does this mean you're our papa now, for real? Silas knelt down to her level. If you'll have me. I'll have you. She looked at Henry. We'll have you. Henry nodded slowly. Papa would want us to be happy, and you make Mama happy. He extended his hand. Welcome to the family. Silas shook it solemnly. Thank you, son. I'll do my best to deserve it. You already do, Clara whispered. They stood there in the kitchen, the four of them holding on to each other. A family. Broken and mended, and stronger for the cracks. The wedding was set for June. Clara wanted something simple. Just them and the children, and maybe a few neighbors. Silas agreed. But word spread the way word does in small towns. The general store owner heard. The blacksmith's wife heard. The preacher's daughter heard. By the time June arrived, half the territory knew that the mysterious rancher was marrying the widow from Colorado. We could elope, Silas suggested one evening, looking overwhelmed. Too late for that. Mrs. Henderson already ordered fabric from Denver. Mrs. Henderson barely knows us. She knows enough. Clara smiled. Let them celebrate Silas. People need happy endings. Is that what we are? A happy ending? We're a happy beginning. He pulled her close. I like that better. The night before the wedding, Clara couldn't sleep. She stood at the window watching the moon rise, thinking about everything that had led her here. Ezra, the mine, the fire, the running, the barn, the storm, the man with sad eyes who'd saved her life. You're thinking too loud. She turned. Silas was watching her from the bed. Sorry. Did I wake you? I wasn't sleeping anyway. He sat up. Come here. She crossed the room and sat beside him, his arm wrapped around her automatically. Having second thoughts, he asked quietly. No. Just remembering. Ezra. Among other things. Silas was quiet for a moment. You can talk about him, you know. I'm not jealous of a dead man. It's not that. Clara struggled to find the words. I feel guilty sometimes, being happy when he's not here to see it. You think he wouldn't want you to be happy? I know he would. That's what makes it worse. Silas turned her face toward him. Clara, listen to me. Your first husband loved you. I never met him, but I know that because I've seen what he left behind. 2 beautiful children. A woman who would die to protect them. A family that refuses to break no matter how hard the world tries. Silas. He loved you. And he'd want you to be loved. Not mourned forever. Not alone forever. Loved. Clara's eyes filled with tears. How do you know? Because that's what I'd want for Rebecca. That's what I'd want for anyone I loved. He kissed her forehead. Honor his memory by living, Clara. That's the best tribute you can give. She buried her face in his chest and cried. Not from sadness. From relief. From finally having permission to be happy. The wedding day dawned clear and bright. Clara wore a blue dress she'd sewn herself. Nothing fancy, just cotton and lace, but Silas looked at her like she was wearing diamonds. You're beautiful, he whispered. You're biased. Damn right I am. The ceremony was held in the yard under a sky so blue it hurt to look at. The preacher spoke words about love and commitment and building a life together. Clara barely heard them. She was too busy looking at Silas, at his gray eyes, shining with tears he'd never admit to. Do you take this man? The preacher asked. I do. Do you take this woman? With everything I am and everything I'll ever be. The preacher smiled. Then, by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Silas kissed her. Gently at first, then deeper. The crowd cheered. Henry groaned. Rosie squealed with delight. Ladies and gentlemen, the preacher announced, Mr. and Mrs. Silas Brennan. Clara laughed. Actually laughed with pure joy. She was a wife again. Her children had a father again. They had a home, a future, a chance. Happy, Silas murmured against her hair. Terrified, she admitted. And happier than I've ever been. Me too. He held her tighter. Me too. The celebration lasted until sunset. There was food and music and dancing and more laughter than Clara had heard in years. Rosie fell asleep in Silas's arms. Henry lasted longer, but eventually he was nodding off against Clara's shoulder. Time to get these 2 to bed, Silas said. They carried the children inside, tucking them in together in the room that had become theirs. Mama, Rosie murmured without opening her eyes. I'm here, baby. Best day ever. Best day ever, Clara agreed. She kissed both children and slipped out of the room. Silas was waiting in the kitchen, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. Thought you might need this. You know me well. I'm learning. They sat on the porch, watching the last guests ride away into the gathering dusk. We did it, Clara said. We did. Now what? Now we live. Silas took her hand. Day by day, together. That sounds perfect. It won't be perfect. There'll be hard times, bad harvests, sick animals, maybe worse. I know. And you're still not scared. I'm terrified. Clara squeezed his hand. But I'm not alone anymore. That makes all the difference. Silas lifted her hand to his lips and kissed it. Mrs. Brennan? Mr. Brennan. I like the sound of that. So do I. They sat together as the stars came out one by one, filling the sky with light. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new joys, new fears. But tonight there was peace. Tonight there was love. Tonight there was home. Summer turned to autumn. Clara watched the leaves change with a sense of wonder. Back in Colorado, autumn had meant the beginning of darkness, the approach of another brutal winter. Here it meant harvest, abundance, preparation. We'll have enough to see us through, Silas said, surveying their stores, and some to sell in town. That's more than enough? It's a start. He pulled her close. Next year will be better. The year after that, better still. You're an optimist. I'm a realist with hope. There's a difference. Clara laughed. Now you're a philosopher too. I'm a husband, a father, a rancher. He kissed her nose. And apparently a philosopher. Who knew? The first snow came in early November. Clara woke to a world transformed white and silent and beautiful. She stood at the window watching the flakes fall and felt a flicker of the old fear. Then Silas's arms wrapped around her from behind. Different this time, he murmured. What? The snow. You're looking at it differently. She turned in his arms. How do you know? Because last time you saw snow, you were running for your life, freezing, desperate. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Now you're warm, safe, loved. You notice everything. I notice you. His eyes were soft. Always. Clara kissed him, slowly, thoroughly. Ew. They broke apart. Henry was standing in the doorway making a face. Must you do that in the kitchen? Yes, Silas said. We must. It's disgusting. You'll understand when you're older. I'll never understand. Love is gross. Rosie appeared behind him, rubbing her eyes. What's gross? Mama and Papa kissing. That's not gross, that's nice. Rosie pushed past her brother. I want pancakes. Pancakes it is, Silas said. With extra butter. With extra butter. Clara watched them, her husband, her children, and felt her heart swell. This was what happiness looked like. Not grand gestures or dramatic moments. Just ordinary days. Breakfast and laughter and love. She wouldn't trade it for anything. Then Henry said something that made her heart stop. Mama, I think something's wrong with Rosie. Clara spun around. Rosie was standing by the table, her face pale, her hand pressed to her forehead. Sweetheart. Clara rushed to her. What's wrong? My head hurts, Rosie whispered. And I feel cold, but also hot. Clara touched her daughter's forehead. Burning. Silas. He was already moving. I'll get the doctor. It's 15 miles. I'll ride fast. He grabbed his coat and was out the door before Clara could respond. She turned back to Rosie. Her daughter's eyes were glassy, unfocused. Mama, I don't feel good. I know, baby. I know. Clara lifted her daughter and carried her to bed. The fever climbed. By the time Silas returned with the doctor, Rosie was delirious. It's been going around. The doctor said, his face grim. Scarlet fever. We've lost 3 children in town already. Clara's blood turned to ice. Scarlet fever. The same disease that had killed Annabelle. She looked at Silas. His face had gone white. What do we do? Clara demanded. Keep her cool. Give her fluids. Pray. The doctor shook his head. I wish I had better answers, Mrs. Brennan, but medicine can only do so much. After he left, Clara sat by Rosie's bed holding her daughter's burning hand. She's going to be all right, she said. She has to be. Silas stood in the doorway. He hadn't moved since the doctor said the words. Silas. He didn't respond. Silas, look at me. His eyes were distant, haunted. I can't lose another one, he whispered. Clara, I can't. You won't. Clara stood and grabbed his arms. You won't. She's strong. She's a fighter. She survived freezing to death in a blizzard. She can survive this. Annabelle was strong too. Rosie isn't Annabelle. Clara's voice was fierce. And you aren't alone this time. We fight this together. You hear me, together. Something shifted in his eyes. The darkness receded just slightly. Together, he repeated. Now get me cold water and clean cloths. We're bringing this fever down. They worked through the night. Clara bathed Rosie's forehead while Silas spooned water between her cracked lips. Henry sat in the corner silent and terrified, refusing to leave his sister's side. "Is she going to die?" he asked at some point. "No," Clara said. "No, she is not going to die." She didn't know if it was true, but she said it like a command, like an order the universe had better obey. Dawn came. The fever held. Noon came. The fever held. Sunset came. The fever broke. Rosie's eyes fluttered open clear for the first time in hours. "Mama!" Clara burst into tears. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." "I had bad dreams." "I know." "But you were there. You and Papa and Henry. You were all there fighting the monsters." Clara looked at Silas. Tears were streaming down his face. "We'll always fight the monsters," Clara whispered. "That's what families do." Rosie smiled weakly. "I'm thirsty." "I'll get water." Henry practically ran from the room. Silas knelt by the bed and took Rosie's hand. "Hey, little one." "Hey, Papa. You scared us." "Sorry." "Don't be sorry. Just get better." "I will." Rosie's eyes drifted closed. "I'm tired." "Sleep, baby. We'll be here when you wake up." She was asleep within seconds. Clara and Silas looked at each other across the bed. No words were needed. They'd faced the darkness together, and they'd won. Rosie's recovery was slow but steady. Within a week, she was sitting up. Within 2, she was demanding pancakes. Within 3, she was chasing Whiskers through the house like nothing had ever happened. "Children are resilient," the doctor said on his final visit. "More than we give them credit for." Clara watched her daughter playing in the yard and felt something shift inside her. A weight she hadn't known she was carrying finally lifted. "She's going to be fine," Silas said, coming up behind her. "I know. I just can't stop watching her." "Neither can I." They stood together at the window, shoulders touching. "Silas?" "Yeah. I want another one." He went still. "Another what?" "A child." Clara turned to face him. "I want to have a baby with you." The expression on his face shock, hope, terror. Joy made her laugh. "You don't have to answer now," she said. "I just wanted you to know." "Clara." He grabbed her hands. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." "But after everything, the running, the fear, Rosie's illness, after everything, I want to create something new, something that's just ours." She squeezed his hands. "A new beginning." Silas was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled her into his arms and held her so tight she could barely breathe. "Yes," he whispered. "God, yes." Is that a yes to trying or a yes to... It's a yes to everything, every day, every moment, for the rest of my life. Clara laughed against his chest. "That's very dramatic." "I'm a dramatic person." "Since when?" "Since I fell in love with a woman who shoots at rich men and runs through blizzards with 2 children on her back." He pulled back to look at her. "You make me want to be dramatic." "Is that a compliment?" "It's the highest praise I know how to give." She kissed him, long and deep and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, Henry was standing in the doorway. "Again." He groaned. "You two are worse than the horses." "The horses?" Clara raised an eyebrow. "Thunder and Bell. They're always nuzzling." He made a face. "It's embarrassing." "Love isn't embarrassing," Silas said. "Easy for you to say. You're not the one who has to watch it." Clara laughed. "Go check on your sister." "She's fine. She's trying to teach Whiskers to fetch." "Is it working?" "No, cats don't fetch." "Then go help her anyway." Henry rolled his eyes but obeyed. When he was gone, Clara turned back to Silas. "He's happy," she said. "Really happy. I haven't seen him like this since before Ezra died. He's got a home, A family. Something to believe in. He's got you. Silas's expression softened. He's got all of us. Spring came again, and with it, new life. Clara knew she was pregnant before the doctor confirmed it. She felt it in her body, the subtle changes, the morning sickness, the bone-deep exhaustion that came from growing another human. "Are you sure?" Silas asked for the third time. "I'm sure." "But how can you be sure?" "Because I've done this twice before." Clara smiled. "I know what it feels like." Silas sat down heavily. "A baby. A baby. Our baby. Our baby." He looked up at her, his eyes bright. "I never thought I'd have this again. After Annabelle, I never thought—" "I know." Clara sat beside him and took his hand. "Neither did I." "Are you scared?" "Terrified." "Me too." They sat in silence, holding hands, processing the enormity of what was coming. "We should tell the children," Clara said finally. "What if something goes wrong? What if— Then we deal with it together. But I won't lie to them." She squeezed his hand. "They've had enough lies in their lives." Silas nodded slowly. "You're right. You're always right. Remember that." He laughed. It was a shaky sound, but real. They told Henry and Rosie that evening after dinner. "I knew it!" Rosie bounced on her chair. "I knew you were going to have a baby." "How did you know?" Clara asked. "Because you've been eating pickles. Mama never eats pickles." "That's surprisingly observant." "I'm observant." Rosie crossed her arms. "Everyone always forgets that." Henry was quieter. He looked at Silas, then at Clara, then back at Silas. "Does this mean you'll love the baby more than us?" The question hit Clara like a blow. "Henry, no, never. But it's your baby, yours and his. You're my children." Clara grabbed his hands. "You and Rosie, you're mine. Nothing will ever change that." "But, Henry." Silas's voice was firm. "Look at me." Henry looked. "I didn't fall in love with your mother," Silas said. "I fell in love with all of you. You, Rosie, Clara, the whole family, and this baby." He put his hand on Clara's stomach. "This baby is just one more person to love. Not a replacement, not a favorite, just another member of our family. You promise?" "I swear it." Henry was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. "Okay. Okay. Okay." He looked at Clara. "Can I feel—" "There's nothing to feel yet. It's too early." "Can I feel anyway?" Clara guided his hand to her stomach. Henry pressed gently, his face intense with concentration. "I don't feel anything." "Give it time." "How much time?" "A few months." "That's forever," Clara laughed. "It'll pass faster than you think." Rosie pushed her brother aside. "My turn." She pressed her ear to Clara's stomach. "Hello, baby, I'm your big sister Rosie. I'm going to teach you everything. How to ride horses and feed chickens and make Whiskers do tricks." "Whiskers doesn't do tricks," Henry pointed out. "She will by the time the baby comes." Clara looked at Silas over the children's heads. He was smiling, really smiling with his whole face. She'd never seen him look so happy. The months passed quickly. Clara's belly grew. The ranch prospered. The children thrived. Henry turned 10 in August. They celebrated with cake and presents and a new saddle Silas had been secretly making for months. "It's perfect." Henry breathed, running his hands over the leather. "It's the most perfect thing I've ever seen." "Made it myself. Took me 3 months." 3 months? You're worth it." Henry threw his arms around Silas. "Thank you, Papa." It was the first time he'd called him that without prompting. Clara saw Silas's face, the shock, the joy, the tears he was trying to hide, and felt her own eyes burning. This was family. Real family, not perfect, not easy, but theirs. The baby came in October. Clara woke in the night to a pain she recognized. Silas. He was awake instantly. Is it time? It's time. The next hours blurred together. Pain and pressure, and Silas's hand in hers, anchoring her to the world. You're doing so well, he kept saying. So well. I'm so proud of you. Stop talking, Clara gritted out. Right, sorry. The doctor arrived just in time. One more push, Mrs. Brennan. You're almost there. Clara pushed. And then a cry. Thin and reedy, and the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard. It's a girl, the doctor announced. A healthy baby girl. Silas made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. The doctor placed the baby in Clara's arms. She was tiny, red-faced, perfect. Hello? Clara whispered. Hello, little one. The baby's eyes opened, unfocused, searching. Then she seemed to find Clara's face and settle. She knows you, Silas said, his voice cracking. She knows her mama. She knows all of us. Clara looked up at him. What should we name her? Silas was quiet for a moment. Then, Rebecca, after her grandmother. Clara's heart clenched. And Annabelle, for her sister. Silas's tears finally fell. Rebecca Annabelle Brennan. That's beautiful. She's beautiful. He reached out and touched the baby's cheek. She's so beautiful. The door creaked open. Henry and Rosie peeked in their faces, anxious. Can we see? Rosie whispered. Please. Come in, Clara said. Come meet your sister. They approached, slowly, reverently. Rosie's eyes went wide. She's so tiny. She'll grow. Can I hold her? When you're sitting down. Here, sit beside me. Rosie climbed onto the bed, and Clara carefully transferred the baby into her arms. Support her head. That's right. Just like that. Rosie stared down at her sister with an expression of pure wonder. Hi, baby Rebecca. I'm Rosie. I'm going to be your best friend forever and ever. Henry hung back watching. Henry! Clara held out her hand. Don't you want to meet her? He stepped closer, looked at the baby, looked at Clara. She's really ours, he asked. Really part of our family. Really and truly. Forever. Forever. Henry's face crumpled. He buried his face in Clara's shoulder and cried. Hey! Clara stroked his hair. Hey, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. His voice was muffled. Everything's right. That's why I'm crying. Clara held him close. Her son who'd grown up too fast, who'd carried too much, who'd finally found a place to put down his burdens. I love you, she whispered. I love all of you, so much. I love you too, Mama. Silas sat on the edge of the bed, his hand on Clara's shoulder, watching his family. We made it, he said quietly. Against all odds, we made it. Was there ever any doubt? Plenty. He smiled. But you never let me give up. That's what family does. Yeah. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. That's what family does. Rebecca was 2 months old when the letter arrived. Clara was nursing the baby when Silas came in with the post. Letter from Denver, he said. Official looking. Clara's stomach tightened. Open it. Silas broke the seal and read. His expression shifted surprise, then relief, then something like triumph. What is it? Ashford's dead. Clara's breath caught. What? Died in prison. Heart attack, they think. Or maybe someone helped him along. Silas set the letter down. Either way, he's gone. Clara looked down at Rebecca sleeping peacefully in her arms. It's really over, she whispered. It's really over. She'd expected to feel relief, joy maybe. Instead, she felt nothing. No, that wasn't true. She felt free, truly free for the first time since Ezra died. Clara. Silas was watching her. Are you all right? I'm better than all right. She looked up at him. I'm finally at peace. He crossed the room and knelt beside her chair. You know what this means. What? No more looking over our shoulders. No more waiting for the other shoe to drop. We can just live. Just live. Clara tested the words. I don't know if I remember how. We'll figure it out together. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. She laughed softly, careful not to wake the baby. I love you, Silas Brennan. I love you too, Clara Brennan. That's still strange to hear. Strange good or strange bad? Strange perfect. He kissed her soft and sweet, and for a moment the world consisted only of the two of them and the baby between them. Then Rosie's voice rang out from the yard. Mama Henry won't let me ride Thunder. Because Thunder's too big for you, Henry shouted back. I'm not too small. I'm exactly the right size. You're 5. Almost 6. Clara sighed. Duty calls. Silas helped her stand. I'll handle it. You sure? I've got this. He kissed her cheek. Rest. You've earned it. She watched him go, this man who'd found her in a barn and given her everything. A home, a family, a future, a life. The years passed like water through her fingers. Rebecca learned to walk, then run, then ride. She had Clara's eyes and Silas's stubbornness and a laugh that could light up the darkest room. Henry grew into a young man, tall and strong with his father's quiet wisdom and his mother's fierce heart. He took over more and more of the ranch work, and Silas taught him everything he knew. Rosie became a force of nature. She could outride most of the men in the territory and outshoot half of them. She was fearless in a way that terrified Clara and made Silas burst with pride. She's going to give some man hell someday, he said one evening watching Rosie race across the pasture. She already gives you hell. That's different. I'm her papa. Clara leaned against him. You're a good papa. I had good teachers. Who? You. The kids. He wrapped his arm around her. This life we built. They watched the sunset together the way they did most evenings. It had become a ritual. After the work was done and the children were settled, they would stand on the porch and watch the sky turn colors. Do you ever think about the old days? Clara asked. Which old days? Before. The running, the fear, the barn. Silas was quiet for a moment. Sometimes. Usually when I'm grateful. Grateful? For how far we've come. For what we have now. He pulled her closer. For you. I'm the grateful one. We can both be grateful. Is that allowed? I don't see why not. Clara laughed. After all these years, he could still make her laugh. I love you, she said. I know. You're supposed to say it back. I love you too. He kissed her temple. Always have. Always will. Promise? Promise. They stood together as the stars came out one by one. Behind them, the cabin glowed with warmth. Inside, their children were arguing about whose turn it was to do the dishes. Normal. Ordinary. Perfect. Silas. Yeah. Thank you. For what? For finding me in that barn. For taking us in. For giving me a reason to keep going when I wanted to give up. You never wanted to give up. I did. Once. In that storm before I found the barn. I thought about just lying down in the snow and letting it end. Silas's arm tightened around her. What stopped you? Henry. Rosie. The thought of leaving them alone. Clara looked up at him. And then you. You gave me something to live for beyond just surviving. You gave me the same thing. Then we're even. We're more than even." He cupped her face in his hands. "We're blessed." "Blessed." Clara smiled. "I like that word. It's the right word. For this. For us. For everything we've built." She kissed him, soft and slow, with all the love she had. When they finally broke apart, Rosie was standing in the doorway. "Gross," she announced. "You're both gross." "You'll understand when you're older," Clara said. "That's what you always say." "Because it's always true." Rosie rolled her eyes but smiled. "Dinner's ready. Henry burned the biscuits again." "I did not." Henry's voice came from inside. "They're supposed to be dark." "They're black, Henry. Black and smoking." "That's character." Clara laughed. "We'd better go save dinner." "We'd better," Silas agreed. They walked inside together hand in hand, into the warmth and chaos of their family. This was what happiness looked like. Not grand gestures or dramatic moments, just ordinary days strung together like pearls on a string. Breakfast and laughter and arguments about burnt biscuits, children growing, love deepening, time passing. A life lived fully and well. Years later, when people asked Clara how she'd survived those dark days, the loss of Ezra, the terror of Ashford, the endless running, she always gave the same answer. "I found a man who saw me at my worst and loved me anyway. I built a family from broken pieces, and I learned that home isn't a place. It's the people who stand beside you when the world tries to tear you apart." Silas would add, "She walked into my barn half dead and gave me a reason to live." "That's romantic," people would say. "That's truth," they would reply. And it was. Every word of it. On their 25th wedding anniversary, Clara and Silas sat on the same porch where they'd sat thousands of times before. The ranch had grown. The children had grown. They had grandchildren now, 3 of them, with more on the way. But some things never changed. The sunset, the stars, the feeling of Silas's hand in hers. "Quarter century," Clara said. "Hard to believe." "Any regrets?" "Not a single one." "Liar," he laughed. "Okay, one regret. I wish I'd found you sooner. We found each other exactly when we were supposed to." "You believe that." "I believe everything happens for a reason, even the terrible things, especially the terrible things." Silas was quiet for a moment. Then, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." "I know." "You're supposed to say it back." "You're the best thing that ever happened to me too." Clara smiled. "Better? Better." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn colors. Inside, their family gathered, grandchildren running, adult children laughing, the smell of dinner cooking, life, full and rich and good. "Clara, yeah, I love you. I love you too. Always. Always." He kissed her soft and sweet the way he had 1,000 times before. And Clara Brennan, who had once been Clara Whitmore, who had once been a widow, running through a blizzard with 2 children and nothing but hope. Clara Brennan smiled. Because she'd learned the most important truth of all. That love doesn't end. It transforms. It grows. It finds new shapes and new homes and new people to hold. That family isn't blood. It's choice. It's showing up when things get hard. It's staying when it would be easier to leave. That home isn't a place. It's wherever your heart is, wherever your people are. And her heart was here, with Silas, with her children, with the life they'd built from nothing but courage and stubbornness and love. This was her home. This was her family. This was her forever. And she wouldn't trade a single moment of it for anything in the world.